Okay. Well, hi everyone. My gosh, it's been such a long time, but I'm so glad to be back. And today I have such a special guest here, Rahel Ryatt. Rahel, oh my gosh. So I will
Hello.
I will let you introduce yourself because I don't think it'll do you it justice for me to explain it. But as far as I know, could you explain like what you do, a little bit about your backstory? And evolutionary astrology, like, what does that mean? How is it different to, say, traditional astrology? And you combine this with nervous system work, right? Which goes really deep to help people just really release those patterns that they can't do through talking about it alone. Like it's very much a body inside the body. So I will let you introduce yourself, but I'm just so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Lulu. I'm really excited for this conversation. And I think you already put it really well. But let's maybe start. Um, where is evolutionary astrology different? Like, there's a
Yeah.
couple of things you can touch on. But I just happened to stumble into evolutionary astrology. I didn't believe in astrology or anything like for most of my life until I found this. And it was at a time where I really needed these bigger answers to help me understand myself and my life.
Mhm.
And so I just only basically studied this kind of approach and this kind of worldview because for me it's very much a worldview. Whereas normal astrology, I mean, there's so many facets, different ones, but sometimes it's about personality patterns. Sometimes it's more psychological. Sometimes it's more like descriptive. You are this archetype, and therefore you are like this. Um, Sometimes there's not a lot of free will in it, and evolutionary astrology really sees the whole birth chart as your karmic map of incarnation. Like you came here, your soul came here to like at the exact time you were born in
Mhm.
the exact place. So we could have that chart. And your birth chart, if you've ever seen one, like is that imprint and it describes, you know, the lessons you bring on the topics and the personality patterns and the nervous system imprint you're going to develop throughout life from the past. And it also shows where you're heading or supposed to, ideally. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of focus
Mhm.
on the moon's nodes, actually, where normal astrology often isn't very interested in.
Mhm.
It's not like unknown, but that's like one important piece. And then just how we look at the personality and the human
Mhm.
and the placements in the chart is from a perspective of it's not fixed. Like there is,
Yeah.
depending on your consciousness and where you are in your journey of growth, you can live, let's say, an Aries moon very differently, right? You can be like super reactive and just lash out at everybody with their placement, or you, and then you can grow throughout life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think especially with the moon through the lens of evolutionary astrology, that's like when it's related to Cancer, which we're talking later about. It's like this water planet, right? And it holds this input from the past and the nervous system and the body memory. So like there's the moon carries a lot of this old ways of being that we
Mhm.
essentially want to overcome, not in a sense of like pushing them away, but
Mhm.
and here comes already like the nervous system view I hold is like more of integrating them and living
Mhm.
them maybe in a more evolved, more mature way. And that's where the Aries moon, for example, can just become more assertive in a positive way or take a lot of bold initiative in life, right? Instead of waiting to begin something. That's just like an example. I hope that makes sense, and I don't want to get too technical here. But I think it's a lot of the difference is like how you look at a chart and the philosophy behind it, and also a little bit on like what you look at. But that's the different approach to, or the difference to let's say, normal astrology, even though there's a lot of different ways as well. And really, I mean, it's probably a pretty unique combination
It is, yeah.
I hold here. And I mean, for me, it was never my intention to do that or study that.
Uh-huh.
It was really life that brought me here.
Yeah.
Um, I studied business in my 20s,
Uh-huh.
followed the normal path, did the good thing, the reasonable thing, even
Hmm.
though my soul always longed for more, for different, and I
Yeah.
just didn't know what was possible. And roughly 10 years ago, or pretty much exactly 10 years ago, I had a big wake-up call
Mm.
when my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, she could die every day. So
Mm.
basically everybody could die every day.
Yeah.
And it like really like shook me. And
Mhm.
I was like, okay, let's just I knew it was happening for me, and let's just change the things that didn't feel good anymore. It was like in a 8+ year relationship. I had my job, like the best job I ever had, and like that kind of I was on a journey of searching my career, my best career. I'm like a 10th house son, so that's like my a big focus of my becoming and my
Ah,
um, yeah, my sole purpose is related to career in a sense. And so I was always on that
wow.
journey. And so it was the best I ever had and most satisfaction because I was changing and exploring a lot until then. And I was like, there must be more to it. And it was, you know, maybe within a year I did the Camino de Santiago in Spain. I walked part of it, and I just started to release all of the things that didn't feel alive or aligned anymore. And then eventually I jumped and booked a one-way ticket to Thailand with just a backpack at age 32 when everybody else was getting married, and just like wanted to explore what is possible, what life held for me. And I know it sounds so romantic. It was terrible because my nervous system was like fried. Like I am a person, I love predictability. I love routines. I also have Virgo placement, so kind of I'm organized, and jumping into this lifestyle. Like I had no plans. I only had 2 nights booked in a hostel in Chiang Mai. Like
Mm.
I would never do it again that way. But I wanted to challenge that part of me,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
almost a little bit rigid. And I knew, like, wanted to have like the control and the security, and I wanted to challenge, and I did that. But it was actually my nervous system felt like highly unsafe. I didn't know about the nervous system at that
Yeah.
time, of course. So
Yeah.
I was just lost for
Yeah.
months, and like my body seriously became ill through the traveling, through like the mental strain. Like I had a lot of anxiety. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm doing the journey of my life, but I'm feeling so, so bad. And ultimately, like, I was just confronting a lot of the stuff I, avoided before, be
Yeah.
it like my relationship to nourishment, be it being
Mhm.
alone, the things that come up when you are finally alone. I was just like super social and out and about like all the time, and compulsively eating, compulsive sport, compulsive shopping, and
Yeah.
then it was all gone. There was all this space.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think it was about 8 months into this journey.
Hmm.
At that point, I was in South America with my partner that
Hmm.
I met shortly before I went traveling. And we stumbled into evolutionary astrology. And it was
Mm.
like a lightning bolt for me. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, this holds the answers, even
Yeah.
though I didn't know before. But like, I was also doing a yoga teacher training in India, and I was just at some point I realized I had some of my symptoms all of my life, and never was a doctor really able to help me, and
Mm.
never did I meet somebody that could fully grasp me.
Yeah.
And at that point in the journey, I was like, I have to heal myself. And I didn't that was 2018.
Hmm.
I didn't know about, I think they probably didn't even exist, like holistic psychologists and all the awesome information that is out there today on Instagram.
Yeah.
It didn't exist, or I didn't know about it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Hmm.
But I felt like utterly alone. And I just tried with the tools from yoga and plant medicine and astrology. And astrology is just like the part that clicked so much for me,
Yeah.
gave me so
Yeah.
many insights.
Yeah.
And I think pretty intuitively,
Mm.
I got this insight and I like felt it in my body and allowed for space for that, even though I
Mm.
didn't have names or tools. But I remember we were in that van, just lying in that bed a lot and just like feeling all the pain move through me, which
Wow.
turned out to be a good thing. But
Yeah.
I just did it. And this was really life changing. So I knew kind of also with astrology, this is my purpose. This is
Hmm.
like the thing
Hmm.
I want to bring closer to the people. And then, we returned about a year later, and I was still like, I felt very alienated from Switzerland and like from the people I knew. If I was like in the middle of this journey, and I think in 2020, I started to freelance, and that's when I just stumbled upon this nervous system education. It was not even called nervous system education, it's called neuro embodied soul centering,
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
unique method in the German speaking world. And I just read about it and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to the, free webinar. And then like it was super intuitive and not like I would function normally. But I was just like, yeah, that's it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And that was like 2021. There was also not a lot of language about the nervous system, and I didn't know,
Mm.
everything I read today, and I've
Hmm.
learned so much. Meanwhile, was almost more on top, but it was working with the nervous system,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
present. Like,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
it's mostly a one-on-one coaching approach that I learned there. But that's how I got into this, and it was always mainly for me at first, and eventually I started to bring it together and started to
Mm.
just offer this work that didn't have a name or um, you know somebody guiding it, and just started to explore what can I
Yes.
do with it, how can I combine it in a way that makes sense. And there were actually so many ways.
Yeah.
And today I landed basically and this is really new, but I was kind of exploring between, sometimes with my content and how I speak about it, going more into the astrology direction, then more into the nervous system direction. Maybe you know this, like from
Yeah.
your own journey. I don't know. It's like it's a thing to find your
Yes.
message and
But
your
it's
the right word.
uniquely yours, you know? It's
Yeah,
just it's yours and it's so special. That's why I was so drawn to you. I remember because I found you on Instagram. So one of the
it's
gifts
so
of
funny because my audience is so small.
but that's the thing.
I
I
think that's the
think that's
funny.
the beauty of like, because yes, there are a lot of distractions and it's difficult to be on the platform sometimes. But I honestly, I've been using it in such a way that is supportive that I just meet these wonderful people on there, you included. And like, I think that combination is so unique, but also so intuitive because when you were telling your story, I kind of felt like, shit, this kind of sounds like how it worked out for me as well. Because, um, so even though I did eating psychology first, right, which really looked at the eating behaviors and looked at your family, looked at everything, it's very holistic. You're looking at the whole person, not just looking at them as if there's a problem to solve. That's not my approach at all. However, I have to say that in my own life, it didn't quite drop in deeply for me until I learned about astrology. Because,
Mhm.
like you, for a long time, I just ignored it because it's like, oh, it's some pop thing in the
Yeah,
newspapers.
yeah, exactly.
Who cares? Like if I like it, I'll take it. If I don't, no, no. But then it's only when I discovered how deep astrology is, I was like, oh shoot, this is like your life blueprint. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then also like one of the biggest gifts of astrology for me, and I'm not even talking about evolutionary astrology, just, ordinary astrology, if you call it that. Um, it gave me so much validation for some of the tendencies I had. Whereas, I was still very much stuck in that fixing mentality. I
Yeah,
love what share about what you do is, you help people approach their challenges not as problems to fix, but as portals to initiation and transformation, right? But I was seeing and I knew this in my head, but I was still seeing myself as if it's a project to fix.
yeah,
And it wasn't until like I discovered astrology that I was like, oh my gosh, this actually explains a lot. Like I have a lot of water placements, right? So like it just comes with the package of just being highly emotional and being easily kind of swayed by external, so like part of my job is to learn how to self-regulate, right? Because I have so much water. And you were talking about the significance of the moon. And honestly, learning that my moon was in Scorpio was really helpful to know. It's
yeah.
like, okay, that's an intense one to be in. So give yourself a bit
Yeah,
of grace, you know?
and I actually wondered, do you know about your South Node?
No.
Because okay, that like we have to talk about this quickly because
Yeah.
that makes it even more interesting because
Mm.
your moon, yes, is in Scorpio. It's like the most intense it can get,
Yeah.
right? With like the feeling. Love it. No, no, it's not like the Scorpio moon. Yes, it's the I would say it's the most intense moon placement. But now we double down because you also have that Pluto, the ruler of
Oh,
Scorpio,
no.
conjunct your moon. I'm like, oh wow, that sounds so deep and intense.
Uh-huh.
Or on the other hand, it's also a tendency to get really controlling and
Yes.
fixed. Because and
Yes.
I'm also like and then the third thing, let me add that before we go to the third thing that is in a package with your moon and your Pluto is the South Node. So like
Mhm.
and like the Pluto is always like kind of we can say the reason you're so incarnated. Like let's not go deeper with that, but it's tied to your past, it's tied to incarnation. The South Node
Mhm.
is like pointing to past life. And the moon also is like this past life emotional imprint. So that like all together in Scorpio, that's just like super intense. And
Mhm.
I'm also a Scorpio South Node and with Pluto there. So I feel
Wow.
you.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, it's so, and I also see how you like I was exactly the same. You put it so well, like the astrology, like what kind of BS? Like in these
Yeah.
magazines, it's like they just write something, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we can also be really cut off and have a really strong line there, and then until you find into, and then like
Yeah.
then also Scorpio can be. I feel like it can be so fixed in water and how it, and
Mhm.
suppressing. As
Yes.
you said, like it didn't fully, like you knew
Yes.
conceptually, it's like holistic, but then for yourself, and it can be really rigid in ways.
Yeah.
And it can be so deeply transformative, right? Once you find the flow,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know.
you
So
can
like
like
that's
change everything.
right. Just to know that you are able to give yourself so much more grace, like because I think, again, like you said, that controlling tendency is so strong in me. This is probably
Yeah.
why I do the work I do now, because I'm actually doing it actually helps me temper it as well, because I understand that that's a very like a deep fear or something, like just this deep sense of something's not okay, and I remember another astrologer friend of mine, we were talking about this, but like my Chiron is also in the first house, right? So like
Hmm.
again, all of these things really help me just not be so hard on myself, because it's like
Yeah.
because it's so easy to see how like it seems like nobody else struggles with this as deeply as I do. But when you understand it on this level, you just give yourself so much more grace. So astrology definitely hit that next level for me. And then similar to you, I only really came across nervous system stuff like at the end of last year. So very, very fresh new baby in this world. But I feel like, whoa, yeah, this is like the other layer that is just going to completely change the game for you, because when you understand your physiology, right? So you can, when you understand how the survival physiology works and how it kicks in when it doesn't need to, all of these patterns that you took on as an adaptive protective thing, right? And then you kind
Exactly.
of put that together with your astrology and it just suddenly makes you go, "Oh my gosh, I need to love myself." Because there's no, it's, and I think that's the biggest gift, right? When you have these insights, you stop fighting and trying to fix yourself and you
Yeah.
just start understanding and connecting with yourself where you're at. Like when I first got into the nervous system studies, I couldn't believe how little capacity I really had. Like I really
Mm.
had very little. And I was crying for months about like, oh my gosh, I'm so worthless. I I can't do much at all. But it
Oh,
was just
wow.
continually meeting myself there. It's like, okay, well, but this is where you actually are. So meet yourself where you are for the first time instead of always suppressing or not acknowledging or, overriding. So
Pretending,
pretending. My
performing.
life
Yeah.
has been like pretending, like that's how I
Yeah,
feel.
of course. It's like
Yeah.
it's like what society
Hmm.
wants us to do. Like, and
Yes.
another really important piece, I feel like, before I studied astrology was I didn't know how different and unique we actually all are. So I compared myself to others.
Yeah.
And for example, my sister, she's like the purest Sagittarius I know. Like she's just fire. Like all planets in Sagittarius plus Leo rising and then
Uh-huh.
something in Aries even. It's like just fire.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a very strong energy. And
Yeah.
I always felt so bland compared to her and like wrong in a way because of course she got all the attention in
Mm-hmm.
the family, being so extroverted, so, alive and loud and everything.
Hmm.
And I always felt wrong because, yeah, she must have be do something that was right that I didn't naturally, that didn't come natural to me. And then sometimes she said, like, I just don't understand where you live, it always looked like an interior design, magazine. And then I discovered astrology. I'm like, I'm just a Libra and I have Virgo placements. And I just love having a nice home. Like,
Yeah.
that just, like today, I would say that relaxes my nervous system.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have that at all with her chart. And like these kind of things where I, like, so, like, I just felt bad about myself in every aspect there was
Mhm.
before I knew astrology. Not
Yeah.
always, but in that dark night of my soul where I found it, like
Yeah.
I really felt really, really bad about myself. And having language for the different parts of you and the parts of others, and it's just like it just blows your mind at some
It is so
point
not, yeah.
because
As you
you're
were,
like, oh,
yeah.
we don't have to compare. I can meet
Yeah.
you so differently
Yeah.
because I don't have to feel bad for you having these beautiful parts on you that I actually don't have
Mhm.
because I'm different.
Yeah, I think that is what is so difficult to claim in the conditioning and society that we've been brought up to, because it always feels like whatever you think you need is always out of your reach that you don't already have it. I think that's like a very key part of conditioning that is very destructive and keeps us not being ourselves. Like we're just trying to be
Yeah,
something else, right? Um,
100%.
when you
It's so
when you're
related to nourishing and eating
yes,
and just to
yes.
drop that and like beauty and like this whole wellness thing,
Oh, 100%. But one thing that popped up to me when you're talking about the difference between you and your sister is that do you find that like the nervous system patterns and the astrology, do they like match up somehow? Because like since I learned about the nervous system, so like yes. Because I want to tell you something else. So like since I learned about the nervous system stuff, I realized that I have actually essentially been in a functional freeze for like the
Mm,
past decade because I went through some pretty severe trauma with the birth of my twins. And
mm,
I didn't know that my body was in survival or was in that frozen yet functional state, right? And so
yeah.
again, when I learned that, I was like, another huge light bulb explaining like not explaining, but just helping me better accept myself and how I can work with that, so that I'm not spinning my wheels and that I'm actually taking actions that helps me heal from it, not further, what do you call it? Like emphasize the pattern, right? Of just constantly
Mhm.
being frozen, like just shut down, afraid of interaction, all of that stuff. Because I blamed myself. I thought, what's wrong with me? Like, I thought I was a very social person, but I'm not. But like, because whenever I would meet people, I just felt such crippling self-doubt and like lack of worth. And it was only when I learned about, oh, well, your body was really in that state of just protect and shut yourself down, it made so much sense. And now I feel like, okay, I'm coming out of that now because I feel safer now. I'm developing more regulation. I'm being more present. I'm, completing the loops that needed to be completed. So it's like,
Mhm.
anyway, that's just a little sidetrack, but we were talking about how, they match, right? So,
Yeah, and I love that you share this
uh-huh.
story. Thank you for that because I mean, maybe we can just look at your example. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense for me. Like I totally see like that Scorpio can bring that. And then your like moon, your Pluto and your South Node, that stellium is in your sixth house.
Mm.
Very functional, like that's the house of service. And I know a couple of sixth house South Nodes. My partner, I always call him the working horse because like they're such good workers and like he can go so far past his capacity. It's like just what he probably has always done to, be loved, be accepted by family, by society, right? It's all this conditioning.
Yeah.
And so there we can like I find it so interesting because I said this is the imprint you came to live. Now,
Hmm.
of course,
Hmm.
you have like you come into the body of your mother and it starts with forming there. The nervous
Hmm.
system starts forming there. If your
Yeah.
mother is always like in fight, in flight, or in anxiety, or in freeze, like that's the environment you learn. Like you can run from it. That's just what you get, and
Yeah.
that is like this connection, this higher connection of like your soul came to your mother, if you like
Yeah.
it or not. Like I don't
Yeah.
like it when I got there, but it's I see I can accept it. It's for a reason, right? To work through that.
Yeah.
And it's formed so early, and like then it continues right in early life, and these standard messages, and this is mirrored in your chart. Like let's say the moon placement, the moon aspect, but also like this south node. Like in the end, there's so many like how you relate your Venus placement. That's also the nervous system is so important to how you relate because there's like this social state,
Yes.
when you are
Yeah.
safe and relaxed and you can
Yes.
relate openly.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then when you fall into fight or flight, like relating, like it's fighting. I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot about fighting personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a state I've been in a lot that I learned also, especially when it comes to relationships. I have a Mars Venus conjunction, for example, and that it shows in the chart. And the
Yeah.
nervous system, it's like with that kind of language we can explain it, but
Yeah.
it's 100% there. Do you see the connection already, or should I continue with that?
Oh
I'm
no,
not sure
you go. Yeah, go.
if I put it well enough, but yeah, I would say the chart shows it on a like a mental, intellectual level, and it lives in the body, it lives in the nervous system.
Yeah.
And this is very much a trap to astrology. And I've seen that. It was very interesting for a while. I've been like in astrology groups on Facebook, surfing around. And sometimes people obsess so much about their placements and the right or
Mm.
wrong. In
Hmm.
like I'm like, what do ask each other? Like, what do you say about this placement? And really get into so much detail, which I personally think isn't necessary. Not because I'm like above it or better, like not at all. I'm not the best astrologer in the world. But I approach it very differently. Like I'm more like, okay, let's look at your moon. And I
Mm.
love to hear the stories and how is it lived and where is the opportunity to evolve or change something.
Hmm.
And sometimes people stay on this mental level and like just continue in like the wheel of the mind instead of letting it sink into the
Yeah.
body
Yeah. Yeah.
and see what surfaces through the body because or just if you look at life, how is that lived? And that's like you like astrology will blow your mind through insight, through deepened understanding. Like the story
Mhm.
I shared with my sister, like we can step out of comparison, we can find meaning, all of these things, but like the real change, the embodied change of I don't I don't live in freeze anymore. I don't live in fight anymore.
Mhm.
I wake up feeling differently every morning without, having to change myself first just because my
Mhm.
nervous system
Mhm.
stayed changed. That kind of change is not coming from astrology. That's like the
Mhm.
nervous system part, right? That's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
find it like I
Yeah.
I love my own combination that I accidentally fall into
Yeah.
because it helps achieve this transformation,
Yeah.
right? And I feel
Yes.
like I'm in like my Instagram is
Mhm.
just a nervous system bubble at the moment. Like I just
Yeah.
bring
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things and I love how big it's getting and how it's like, spreading so wide that a lot of the root like it's tying together a lot of the other symptoms that so far medicine looks like
Yeah.
separately at. And so yes, I 100% see your nervous system imprint, but I would always prefer to see it in a conversation, but I always get a taste of how
Mm.
your nervous system will be through the chart.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I,
maybe a little, or
no, you go.
like just a very short example, like if you have, for example, like a Moon Uranus contact,
Mm.
that can be somebody who is very restless and needs, learns to settle.
Mm.
Right. And then, I mean, for you, maybe that's very interesting to add here. I talked about this south node, this intensity, like the whole control. I can see that
Mhm.
with like the sixth house is also about health
Yeah.
and the routines. And I can very much see or imagine that for you, eating might have become a form of, emotional control,
Oh,
maybe with
yeah.
that over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then, but your north node, where your like soul wants to go, and that's not a planet, it's more like a good idea.
Hmm.
That's always opposite of the south node. So
Yes. Yes.
opposite of your big stellium, it's in Taurus.
Yeah.
It's in like, becoming more embodied and abundant and
Yes.
relaxed and safe.
Yeah.
I
100%.
think that's exactly what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. I'm glad you can see that. Yeah. Yeah, the theme about nourishment is so like it's so important to me because like as I've deepened in my own understanding of myself, I'm noticing, okay, well, the way I speak changes, because I think I used to work with more of that psychological, just focusing on not just like when I say behavioral change, I'm not trying to force different behaviors. I'm trying to help you get to see the roots of it, and then you do the changes very, very slowly. But now, with what I understand more, it's like even that, but if you do not have the intention of nourishment and self-acceptance underneath it, like even that can become a prison. If you're just like doing all the self-care practices, but you're
Mm.
doing it from a place of, oh, I have to, right? Like
I'm
I,
wrong if I don't
hmm
do. Yeah.
then you actually haven't really gotten deep enough. Because I think
Yeah.
the real depth is comes from this place of like really just meeting yourself exactly where you are. No further, no further back. That's like really where you actually at. And I think that can be so challenging for people to actually see where they're at, and that element of nourishment. Maybe you can talk a bit about like I don't know, the Cancer theme of nourishment that the season we're going into, or maybe the Taurus themes, it's like these are I think these are core wounds for almost everybody because I don't think anyone, or maybe some people did, but very few people came into the world into a family that was well adjusted, right? I think we all we were all born into families of dysfunction to some extent. And so the nervous system gets that imprint, right? And so it's going into survival when it doesn't need to, right? And it's doing things because you have to, instead of coming from this place of like a true nurturing, self-regulated mother caring for that baby. Like, how many of us really got that? You know, like it's,
That's what we're changing, I would say. Yeah, I
yes,
love that.
it is
I
changing.
think
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like our generation, especially with the Pluto and Scorpio generation, is like we're cutting a lot of patterns and ties to
yeah,
really, really do it different because we
yeah,
have this capacity to go really deep
yeah,
and just change it and do it differently. And
yeah.
but yeah, it's painful to see how almost nobody got this most beautiful form of being nurtured
Hmm.
and held and cared. And I feel like, yeah, there's not a lot of role models even.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of us are exploring their path, or how to live that as mothers. And but from an astrology perspective, actually,
Mm.
um, like not only that, but like the relationship always starts, like every relationship starts with yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel like when like how you nurture yourself, you nurture others.
Yes,
And you can't like, if we think in terms of modesty, like you can't give what you can to your children, what you can't give to yourself.
exactly. Yeah.
um Cancer as a sign, like for me, like I don't have cancer placements myself, but everybody has a moon. So the cancer aspect is through the
Mhm.
moon, important for
Mm.
everyone. And I
Mhm.
already
Mhm.
talked a little
Mhm.
bit about the moon, and it's such a big thing actually, because the moon is also our subconscious. And as
Mhm.
we know, like the
Mhm.
subconscious part is
Mhm.
so much, an
Mhm.
emotional part is
Mhm.
so much bigger than like this logical conscious part.
Oh
And I feel
yeah.
like many people are like, even like in my culture, in Switzerland especially, and I think in other Western culture as well, it's like people sometimes they feel like they're like super rational. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
look, it's just like not at all, because it's like it's this subconscious imprint related to Cancer and to Moon that runs the show actually, but people are not aware because they're just aware of what they know about themselves and the parts they like.
Mm.
And I would say in
Right, right, right.
astrology, sometimes there's like an over identification with the ascendant, because like
Mhm.
this persona,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say like perform, but of course it can be a performance, but that's like what we know. Like you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm this. I would look and like, okay, I'm a sag rising. Should I wear my hat? I'm like a sag rising. If I only know this about me, it gets limiting and very
Yeah.
kind of ego driven, and a lot. And that's probably like, like the Cancer, a lot falls into the background and into the shadow. And the Moon and Cancer, like that's especially murky in a way, because it's there and we can try to suppress it, or just share the positive, just talk about, what we like. And I feel like the more you suppress it actually, or not give it this attention it deserves, actually the more it takes over your
Yes. Yeah.
decisions, how
Yeah.
you show up, how you respond.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's probably like, I mean, it's not Cancer season. I mean, the seasons, I'm not like, I love to see them in nature. I love Cancer season for depending on where you live, like the
Mhm.
lushness.
Yeah.
And like now that I'm in Switzerland, unexpectedly, it's like, wow, it's so green. And
Yes.
like, the rivers and the lake, and that
Yeah.
that I love how nature expresses that. And like there's also an abundance to it in that, even
Yeah.
though we already
Yeah.
had the abundance in
Uh-huh.
Taurus season, but like this
Yeah.
richness and fertility, right?
Mm.
That
Yeah.
is coming. I love that in summer, and the softness. But I think, yeah, from the psychological perspective, I would say that it mirrors more in the moon, unless you have a lot
Mm.
of
Okay.
Cancer
I see. I see. Okay.
placements. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm like,
Okay. I
I
got you.
would can even say I'm not. I mean, we can talk about Cancer placement if you want to, but it's not where my expertise is. I would
Mhm,
say just
mhm,
that I know a lot of cancers, but not it's not my personal kind of
mhm.
background thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
Yeah.
have a very active moon, so I'm very experienced in working with the moon.
I
And
know.
there, I mean, you could say some people would say probably, yeah, Mercury is the nervous system because, it connects everything. But
Mhm,
I
mhm.
very much see it also in this imprint in the moon. Like, I
Yeah.
guess
Mhm.
an Aries moon, for example, could be very, grown up in an environment where there was a lot of fight, that it was normalized. And
Mm,
also, if you look at a fourth house, it will give you information on the IC, not only the
mm.
moon. But I like to see it through this lens also,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
or even we can even make it about the whole chart, but like what formed you. That is basically your nervous system imprint. And
Yeah,
then like the story you shared about, the birth of your twins. Like it,
yeah,
of course, life keeps
yeah,
adding.
yeah, yeah. That's so interesting. You were mentioning before something about a Chiron entering Taurus. Is that something that's quite significant when it comes to our relationship with our bodies, worth? Oh my gosh, actually, I'll mention this very quickly, but for myself, I know that the root of a lot of my issues came from the sense of lack of worth, right? And so I was searching for it externally in getting accomplishments and then controlling the way the body looked as a way to, find a sense of worth external to myself. So actually now that you mentioned this and Taurus being very much about the body, but also with abundance and money and
Verve, yeah.
resources, it's like, yeah, I guess before we close up, give us the scoop on what you see for this kind of transit. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah, it's a transit, and Chiron entered Taurus on Friday, and at some point it will retrograde back into Aries actually. So there's like it's approximately 8 years, and we had all
Oh.
this Aries transit where it was like more about can I be as I am, like existence, and like this um can I observe my maybe also like desires, and
Mm.
desires can go more into Cancer, but it was like this I am
Mm.
topping, and now with Taurus, I feel like it's very much related to the body, and
Mhm.
probably it will show us a lot where we still have wounds in terms of, for many people, likely, is my body enough? Because there's
Mhm. Mhm.
like that's such a big conditioning, right, from the beauty
Yeah.
industry, how a body should look, how it should
Yes.
function or
Yes.
not.
Yep.
Um, can I trust my body? The moments where you feel, I don't have capacity anymore, or this is a
Mhm.
no when somebody asks, but you still go past yourself and say
Mhm.
yes because
Mhm. Mhm.
that is what was expected when you grew up, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like these kind of things might come more into attention. And then you
Mm.
said like it's also money, it's also abundance. I mean, it starts there in the body and it translates into like how you feel about yourself, like the
Yeah.
self-worth. And that's your north node. That's the work you came here to do, right?
Oh,
Is
really?
yeah, 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 100%. And Chiron will be right on your north node because it's on 1 degree of Taurus. So for
Uh-huh.
you, you might feel it quite a bit, and maybe even in a sense of this feels like something bigger or something really
Yeah.
really that is calling me and pulling me,
Mhm.
and there is a wound, maybe there's a fear, or
Mhm.
like
Yes.
something that doesn't feel worthy, something maybe that pulls you to step into, but also is like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like a wounded point, because Chiron is the wounded healer, right? So
Yeah.
it's always looking like it's always showing us where the wound is, and we're always called to work through this. So I think it
Mhm.
will be an excellent time to work with the body for the upcoming 8 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also find interesting because we already had Uranus, the awakener, transit through Taurus. And I was looking back at this transit. I think it started in 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reflecting on it, and I'm like, yeah, this was for me, it was an awakening of
Yeah.
the body. And so that already probably for
Yeah.
many people
Yeah.
happened because before I was so disconnected from the
Oh
body,
yeah.
like so disconnected.
Yeah.
Like I had no awareness of my feel, and I just of my feelings, and or like when they were intense, of course I was aware, but like I would just push my body so
Yeah.
hard in
Mm-hmm.
sports, like just so hard. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know that there was another way, and it comes back to, loving yourself
Totally.
and nurturing yourself, like that you could
Yeah.
actually be generous and soft and loving with yourself. It was just like this thing isn't doing what it should, so it just
Yeah.
push harder. And I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot with Uranus going to the sign. There's probably a lot of awareness and awakening already
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Chiron, maybe like we come to the deeper wound. And
Yeah.
for you especially, it's in your 12th house, so it might even go back, to your ancestors, or like the 12th house is also like the bigger
Mm.
picture, like the collective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Everything
it
you're
might
saying is actually
be
really hitting me like very accurately, like I would say. Like it really feels
oh beautiful.
very accurate for me. Like same with you. I felt very, well, actually, I didn't even know I was disconnected with my body. I thought I was. I thought I was totally embodied, but it's like, no, babe.
Wow, love it. Stuff that
You're
you can
just
laugh
beginning
about it.
now.
I love, by the way, what you said about this. I think you said it twice. Meeting yourself where you are, like now,
Hmm.
not where you want to
No.
go,
Hmm.
not where who you were. Like, and
No.
I feel like this is the bravest thing. It requires a
Hmm.
lot of bravery
Hmm.
and actually capacity
Yeah.
to
Yes.
face yourself truthfully. Like I find it
Yes.
so interesting how many people, especially also like our parents, boomer generation,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
see like a lot of them, and it comes back to how they raised us and the nurturing team
Yeah.
is like they
Yeah.
don't have a lot of them don't have capacity to be honest with yourself and be like, oh, I messed that up. And
Hmm.
can I be with the discomfort of I messed that up
Hmm.
without making myself wrong for it, without having
Hmm.
my parent ego hurt?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like it's so interesting. I think we're totally learning that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they are like more. No, I'm just right because I'm your parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Rahel, you are so amazing. Yeah. Your insights are so amazing. We could talk for many, many more hours, but I respect your time.
Absolutely.
And so before we close out, please share what you're offering right now and how we can stay in contact with you and your work.
Oh, yes, thank you. So if that resonated with you, feel free to join my Instagram. It's like super small. I just restarted it a couple of months ago. I also had to make a cut there, like it was a
Yeah.
lot of old baggage into it, also
Oh
about the
yeah.
nervous system. And I actually have a very new offering coming up because that is also just coming from the lived experience I was going
Hmm.
through, like my latest initiation from life in my past month. It's called Embodied Evolution, and it's like a 1 month immersion. It's
Hmm.
an entry point into my work, so it will be super accessible. It's just 55 euros for a full month of this immersion where I teach my transformational framework that I have developed over the years of my own work with astrology and the nervous system, and working one-on-one. I've been working mainly one-on-one now, and that's how I transition into more like group style offerings
Hmm.
now. And it's about meeting, all these big and small moments in life, because sometimes
Yeah.
it's like big, but a lot of time, like a lot of the evolution actually happens in the daily life. Or like,
Yeah.
I know for some mothers, it's like, why is my child that difficult? And then you're like pointing at the child or at the partner,
Hmm.
and you're all in resistance. If you stop here and like tune into your body, like, oh, actually, that doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
and like really start to take these moments from life and like meet them differently. So actually,
Yes.
there
Yes.
is transformation happening. It
Oh
will be
yeah.
your own. Like we can't change your child or partner or the boss or whoever. Like,
Uh-huh.
but also taking the agency back and the power back, so you can change what is in your hands. And change sounds maybe like, it's something external, but it's not. It's like we're working through the nervous system, through the
Hmm.
body,
Hmm.
and like how you relate to what is. So
Yeah.
life can become like the portal of evolution that it is, that I've learned through
Yes.
evolutionary astrology that it is.
Yes.
And we're starting, this is starting July 29th, so it's almost a month, no, a little bit more even than a month out, because I'm traveling also.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you're interested in that, reach out. That would be
Awesome.
lovely. I'm happy
Yeah.
to share more whenever. Thank
Oh,
you so,
thank
so
you.
much for
Yeah,
having me.
thank
This
you.
was
Yeah,
wonderful. We could have kept going for hours. I see
I
that.
know. I know. Thank you so much, Rahel.
Thank you for having me.